Yes, plural. Kids. She's done it more than once and always managed to wriggle out of it like the hagfish she is. I'm only telling you about 3 of them today because these are the ones I have the most information on. I'll start with my friend Trish's tale because it's the least terrible. I had told Trish about my crazy aunt and she'd kinda laughed it off. No one could be that extreme, right? Trish is a photographer's assistant and she was helping out at an Easter celebration at a church the day she finally saw my aunt in the flesh. I don't know how anyone can come face to face with Carol and ignore the stench of brimstone clogging their nostrils, but Trish just saw her as a normal, if weird, older woman at first. It was only later that she connected the dots. Carol had the hand of a little girl who was tugging away, saying stuff like,
"But I don't want to. Let me go."
Carol dragged the little girl over to Trish.
"Can we get a photo now? I'm sure nobody will mind if you let me go first."
Trish stammered.
Actually, we were working on a ticket system, so you go in the order of the number on your stub. Maybe you and your daughter can talk it over with someone who has a closer number."
The little girl said.
"She's not my mom. I don't know her."
Carol always wanted a little girl. Scratch that. She wanted a mini-me with no thoughts or opinions to show off how great she is. Kevin was an eternal disappointment to her, so rather than go through childbirth again, she would co-opt other people's children. She tried to come after my little Jillian, as demonstrated by her fun little car ride, but my wife and I put a stop to that pretty quick. Trish, possessing none of this vital information, froze. There was no training for this sort of situation, and her brain kind of skipped a beat.
"You're not her mother?"
Carol let out one of her patented fake laughs.
Of course not. But we're just so photogenic together, don't you think?
The little girl looked nothing like Carol, in that she was actually not a butter troll. Carol posed next to her like they were going to be in a magazine spread. The little girl just looked irritated and bored. Luckily, Trish was saved from having to make a hard decision by the girl's mother running up.
"Jessica, I've been looking for you everywhere."
Carol dropped her hand and pouted. The girl's mother, I own Carol, escorted her away while holding a whisper conversation. The family only knew Carol as a fellow congregant, and not very well at that. Word spread and everyone started avoiding her. This only sped up Carol's usual cycle of join, infiltrate, abandon that she went through with each new church. When Trish told me the story, I'll admit, I laughed a little bit. This was quite possibly the best case scenario with Carol. She didn't get a chance to do something criminally neglectful. Yet. The second incident was put together through Uncle Craig after the fact. As it happened, there was a family at a mall. The mom wanted to go in a store. The 2 kids didn't. Mom sat younger kid down on a bench, told older kid to watch him just a second, and went in. Carol came strolling along. You could even see her purse her mouth as she used that stupid baby voice she thinks little kids love. She asked the little kid if he was left all by himself. Older kid butted in that no, there were 2 of them. Younger kid didn't answer. Carol asked him if he wants anything. The younger kid said he needs to go potty. The older kid said no, their mom will be out in a minute. Carol put her hand out to the kid and insisted she take him to potty. The older kid says no, she can't. Younger kid, taught to obey adults over siblings, hopped off the bench. Older kid ran inside to get mother. Carol walked off with younger kid. Of course, they didn't go right to the bathrooms. They stopped off at toy stores and seized candy, because Carol is a massive tease that likes to psych kids up so she can more effectively disappoint them. Meanwhile, kid's mother was going apeshit. I admit, making your kid watch your other kid in a crowded mall is not the wisest parenting decision, but that woman in no way deserved to have to deal with Carol. Security caught up with Carol around Sports Authority. No one had looked twice at a cranky kid trying to wrench away from an older woman. When the guard came up and demanded she turn over the kid, Carol burst into tears. She was only gone a little while. She was going to bring him right back. This was so rude. Like an octopus shoots ink to escape predators, Carol leaves a cloud of befuddlement in her wake. Somehow, the guy ended up letting Carol off with a warning, which hopefully earned him a dope slap from the firm that employed him. It fell to Uncle Craig to sort everything out because he was home when she called. I don't know. There's a lot of sunk cost fallacy when it comes to Carol's siblings. I think one of the reasons Carol didn't go to jail was that the mother was considered also at fault for leaving her kids alone in a crowded mall. And then there's the time she abandoned me. Carol is not a mother, as I've stated, but she makes a point of trying to mother other people's kids. She was always correcting my mom about the way she was raising me, and the corrections were anything but correct. My mom tried to prepare me against her crazy just in case she tried to give me whiskey for a toothache or something like that when she wasn't around, but I don't think any amount of preparation would have prevented this. For good reason. Mom hated Carol, so she made sure to drop me off at Grandpa's when Carol wasn't there. You know, I just can't do justice as to how cool Grandpa was. He handmade wooden toys every Christmas. He had the coolest house full of neat junk and just loved his children and grandchildren to bits. It's just that one of those children happened to be Carol, and Carol happened to drop by an hour after my mother left to run errands. I was building a train track with Grandpa when Carol came in, all fake sweetness and love bombing. I think kids have an innate sense of when someone is pretending to be nice. They could smell it like bloodhounds. Me and my kids do, anyway. I think it was when she started low-key insulting my mom.
Lila never brings you over often enough. Why don't I see my lovely nephew more?
Etc. That I first saw the cracks in her facade. It was getting close to lunchtime and Grandpa was laying me out some graham cracker spread with peanut butter. Oh, no. That would never do for a growing boy. Carol would take me out to get a burger, fries, any kind of treat I wanted. Grandpa pondered. Mom had given explicit instructions not to let me go anywhere around Carol unassisted, but in his mind all his children's problems were the same and they just needed to get over it. I wasn't eager to go anywhere with Carol, but Grandpa, a beloved and trusted adult, told me it was okay. As I put on my seatbelt, Carol babbled all the nice things she was going to get me. I wanted a burger. I'd get a deluxe. Mom didn't let me have a whole thing of fries. I'd get the jumbo, and a shake, and a toy. I've mentioned Carol's tendency to build you up only to disappoint you. I was with her up until she started talking about dessert, saying I wasn't really that hungry. Well, that just made Carol determined to spite my mother. I probably just wasn't used to eating normal portions. Poor baby. I will say this. She held to her word that she'd get me food. Nowhere near the feast she'd been promising, but food. She even got me a toy, which I didn't even want or ask for, and it was the girl toy to boot. And waited there in the drive-thru, horns honking behind us, so she could watch me take my first bite. She made a lot of exaggerated yummy noises at me and drove off. As soon as she got me fed, she was going to take me to the store and buy me a nice toy, and then we'd go get some clothes so I stopped looking so shabby. This was my first glimpse into the depths I was currently adrift in. I said I didn't want new clothes. I liked the clothes I was wearing. Of course I needed new clothes. My mother couldn't afford nice things. That's why she was always begrudging Carol's nice gifts. I just didn't know what nice things looked like after all. I swallowed a fry, appetite completely lost, and over half a burger to go. And Carol, I don't want to go shopping.
Yes, you do. Don't be rude,
she said, running a stale yellow light. No, I want to go back to Grandpa and finish the railroad. Carol mouthed my words, waving her head back and forth as she did, mocking me.
You're spoiled, you know that? You don't know the value of anything.
I had only one card left in my hand. My mother told me to play it any time I needed to get away from Carol. I need to go to the bathroom. Carol frowned and slammed on the brakes. My neck still remembers that moment.
Fine,
She snapped.
go right here.
We were not really close to a public restroom outside a little park. I remember dingy gray walls and metal toilets with no seats. I took care of business and went back outside. Carol waited like a responsible adult and made sure I got belted in before driving off, and we had a lovely time. No, she fucking drove off and left me. I wasn't even scared for a minute. I naively thought that Carol had probably parked and soon she would come around the corner and berate me for taking so long. I don't know how long I waited, but it felt like forever. I was stuck between staying where I was in case she came back or risking going to look for a phone. A guy drove up, a bit pudgy, baby face, glasses. He looked like your typical cubicle drone. He just stayed in the car watching me with a benign smile on his face. After a while, he got out of his car.
"Are you lost, little guy?"
He said. I was really nervous and I didn't like being called little. No. Just waiting on my aunt. The guy smiled bigger.
"Oh, good. She sent me to come get you."
He opened the passenger door.
"Go ahead, get in. We'll be there before you know it."
More than the mall kid, I had had stranger danger drilled into my head. I wasn't sure what this guy had planned for me, but it wasn't good. No thanks. His smile grew wider.
"Come on. I've got a G.I. Joe in the back. I promise I won't tell anyone if you want to come play with it."
Sure, I just gotta get my skateboard. I turned and marched stiff-legged through the park. I turned back twice. Once halfway, I saw the guy watching me go, shading his eyes with his hands. When I got to the other side, I turned around and the guy was gone. I had my telephone number memorized, but no one was home. Mom still happily running errands, thinking I was safe with my grandfather. I waited in a little shop while the storekeeper phoned the cops. They took me home and waited with me. I'll bet my mom had a heart attack when she saw the cruiser in the driveway, and another when they told her what happened to me. She called Grandpa and the old guy thought I was still out with Carol. My mom told him no, the police brought me home. I don't know how she kept her calm, telling Grandpa the whole story, but ended up convincing him of the truth. He was still making excuses for Carol, right up until she drove off and left me. Carol must have seen that I'd gone from the spot and, rather than face her father, must have gone straight home. Or she just went straight home without bothering to check on me. Equally likely. Mom called her house. Her voice was pure, sharp ice as she asked if Carol had seen me. Carol lied and said she thought I was with Grandpa. Mom said it was funny because Grandpa hadn't seen me since Carol took me out. Carol changed her story and said she dropped me off at home since I wanted to go. Mom said that I hadn't been at home. Carol changed again and said I'd whined about getting a toy in a store and then ran off when she refused. It was amazing. I'd never seen my mother do this. She was like a spider passing down loops of silk until Carol had woven her own noose. Finally, my mother cut the bullshit and told her cops brought me home, and that if she ever tried doing something like this again, Mom would string her up by her goddamn intestines. Carol started into her whole, "You can't tell me what to do. Dad says." Mom replied that she'd already told Dad what happened, and her bullshit wasn't going to fly today. Carol went silent. Then she hung up. I'm sure she bawled how unfair it was to her father over the phone. But for the first time in my life, Grandpa held firm, and Carol gave him a hefty prize, an apology wrenched from her pursed lips, a small victory in the long run, but still satisfying. Why does she do it? The same reason she dropped Kevin off with a Duck Dynasty-looking asshole. Because she sees children as things and has zero empathy for anything other than herself. I'm sure if that pudgy dude had ended up molesting and murdering me, she would have found a way to make it all about herself.